Hello, how are you? I'm very happy that I get to share this latest episode with you. A big thank you to all the listeners who have helped make this possible. Echt, merci. Welcome to the Lesbian Romantic podcast. This is More Than Fun and Games, Part 9. Back to the drawing board. Is that the Milky Way? Emily wondered, staring into space. Next to her, Leah had finally fallen asleep. Her calm breathing reminded Emily that she wasn't actually floating in space, but lying on the bed of her hotel suite. She doubted she would get any sleep tonight. There were too many questions that kept popping up in her mind. Most of them had to do with Leah. Today had not been a good day. There had been too much left unspoken between them. Emily was no fool. She knew that Leah didn't want to move to Florida. What she did have trouble understanding was Leah's insistence that she did want to move. Emily had asked Leah if she was sure again and again, and Leah had kept lying. For a few hours, Emily had actually considered taking Leah up on her offer. It had been too tempting not to, because the more she thought about it, the more she wanted to work for Aisha Jahani at Full Circle Games. Emily couldn't quite explain it, but something had shifted inside of her. Aisha had focused on her potential instead of her past experience. In a way, this had set Emily free to do the same. She now understood why she had struggled to find a new path for her career. She had been considering jobs that were very much like her last one, even though she never wanted to go back to the way things were. But now she knew it was time for her to let go of her old way of thinking. She had always known, deep down, that she had been serving the wrong cause. Designing the latest bells and whistles for a phone wasn't very fulfilling, after all. Now, Aisha Jahani was challenging her to go back to the drawing board and take an entirely different approach to every design she would ever create. Emily knew that this would radically change her life, and hopefully other people's too. Every fiber of her body itched to get to work. She had no doubts that this was the direction she wanted to take in her career. If not at Full Circle Games, then somewhere else. She could even continue working as a freelancer. Maybe Aisha would be willing to hire her for specific projects. It was a possibility. Emily had a feeling Jahani wouldn't let her go that easily. They had really connected in those few hours they had spent together. After a year of worrying, Emily was suddenly surprisingly confident about her next steps. Her career was no longer keeping her up at night. Now, it was Leah, because something had become crystal clear to Emily. Things had to change. Leah had been holding back again and again. She avoided uncomfortable conversations. She steered clear of conflict with her best friend, Claire. And now, Leah was even lying to her about being okay with moving to Florida. How did this happen? Emily thought, clenching her teeth. It didn't used to be like this. When they had met, Leah had been incredibly forthcoming. It had been one of the reasons why Emily had fallen for her. But somewhere along the way, things had most definitely changed. Emily just didn't understand why. She didn't think she had done anything to make Leah uncomfortable. She never got angry when it was clear that Claire was difficult again, and she had made sure to build her own new life apart from Leah's. Emily had also learned to talk about what she was thinking and feeling. She had never been so honest or forthcoming as she was with Leah. This made the situation seem even more frustrating and ridiculous to her. Emily scratched the top of her head. Her eyes followed a shooting star on the ceiling, but she quickly lost interest. Her mind was too preoccupied now to enjoy the space illusion in the room. She would hate living in Florida. Why does she keep insisting we should move? Emily asked herself again. She tried to remember what Leah had said in recent conversations. She felt like there was a thread running through them, and if she could find it, she'd understand what was going on. Why are you afraid to tell me what you really want? Emily thought while she studied Leah's peaceful face. Is it because you feel like you should do what I want to do? Her throat tightened at that thought. But why? Emily let out a deep sigh. This was not the type of relationship she wanted with Leah. They should both feel comfortable to be themselves. She rubbed an itchy spot just under her collarbone as she considered her next steps. Okay, she decided. First, I'm going to do what I want to do. She slowly lifted the covers and slipped from under them. Emily waited for a second until she was sure she hadn't woken up Leah. Then, she tiptoed to the door and opened it so slowly it barely made a sound. 7 hours later, Emily walked back into the bedroom with a breakfast platter. The muscles of her neck were sore, and the throbbing just above her temples was getting worse. But Emily was on a mission now, and she wasn't going to let a headache stop her. They were leaving the park in a few hours, and she was not going home without making some serious changes. Emily had been up all night to take care of the first step toward change. She hadn't been able to get everything done, but she had made the best of it. Following the motto, "Perfect is the enemy of good," she had sent her work off an hour ago. The first half of her plan was now out of her hands. The second part, though, was still very much up to her and Leah. Emily expected this part to be even more challenging. She knew it wasn't fair to confront Leah first thing in the morning like this. But lying wasn't fair either, and that was what Leah had been doing for a while now. Emily wanted it to end today. It had to change. Emily placed the platter with the pancakes and fresh orange juice on the nightstand. Not surprisingly, it didn't take long before Leah's eyelids started to flutter. Her nose twitched and her lips curved up. That smells divine, Leah said, her voice sleepy. Blueberry pancakes, Emily replied. Just the way you like 'em. Leah tucked some hair behind her ear and sat up. Thank you. This is wonderful. Emily sat down on the bed next to her. Can we talk? Leah frowned and joked. Okay, now I'm afraid of the pancakes. Pulling Leah's hand into her lap, Emily said, Don't be. What's going on? Leah asked, her eyes flicking to their hands and back up to Emily's face. Emily stroked Leah's thumb with her own. Leah, something's gotta change if we are going to live together. Her voice was a little hoarse. The color drained from Leah's face in less than a second. You mean Claire? She squeaked. This surprised Emily. Maybe the conversation wouldn't be as hard as she had thought it would be. Claire is part of it, yes, Emily replied slowly. She had planned to talk about moving to Florida first, but it was probably better to go with the flow now. I finally told her we're moving in together, Leah said, sounding apologetic. Emily looked up, again surprised. You did? When? Yesterday, Leah explained, while you were getting dinner. Nodding slowly, Emily said, That's why you were so quiet when I got back. Yeah, Leah sighed. It didn't go very well. Emily closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply. Some things made more sense now. Why didn't you tell me? Emily asked, her throat tight. I asked you if something was wrong for like 1,000,000 times. I know, Leah said, clearly uncomfortable. I was going to tell you when we got home. Emily grimaced, meeting Leah's eyes. Honey, this is not okay. You need to stop doing this. Doing what? Leah asked, averting her gaze. You keep hiding things from me, Emily said. The throbbing in her head was getting more intense. It really hurts when you do that. But, Leah pouted, I do it to avoid hurting you. Her eyes filled with tears. Emily's eyes prickled with tears as well. She was too tired to put a lid on the despair she felt at this moment. Well, it's not working, she croaked. I'm sorry, Leah said quietly, sniffing. Emily stared at the green sheets. She felt like they hadn't gotten to the real issue here. She was still racking her brain about what to say next when Leah spoke up. I think, Leah started to say. She bit on her lower lip before continuing. I think I do it because I feel guilty. The last words were barely audible. Emily's head snapped up. Guilty about what? A single tear rolled down Leah's cheek as she lifted her shoulders. Guilty that you lost your job over me. Smiling sadly, Emily said. I didn't. But you did, Leah continued. And your home, too. What home? Emily pleaded. You moved so you could be near me, didn't you? Leah said shyly. Yes, Emily replied, wiping her cheek. But I didn't really have a home to start with. And I didn't lose my job. I quit my job. Leah entwined her fingers with Emily's. Still, I feel like you gave up so much, and... Leah took in a deep breath. I feel responsible. There it was. Finally. Emily couldn't believe she hadn't seen it before. It seemed so obvious now. She took in a shaky breath and squeezed Leah's hand. Her voice trembled when she said, Leah, I make my own decisions. You are not responsible. You've been struggling so much since, Leah whispered. Emily nodded a few times. Yes, I know. But that was a struggle I was going to have sooner or later anyway. Leah tilted her head as she took this in. Emily cupped her cheek tenderly. Maybe I should have told you that more often, she said softly. The struggle is not about you. Pursing her lips, Leah replied. And I should have told you about how I felt. Emily chuckled. Yes, you should have. Leah sniffed. Okay, in that spirit, she continued, I do need to tell you something else. Smiling, Emily rubbed her cheek on her shoulder. The tears were making her skin itch. Let me guess. She giggled a little nervously. You don't want to move to Florida. Lips parted, Leah shook her head in disbelief. I don't. How did you know? Because I don't want to move to Florida either, Emily said. I want to stay close to your family too. Leah's lips curved up. Yeah, me too. Please never lie to me like that again, Emily said softly, her thumb brushing over Leah's lips. I'm sorry, Leah said, kissing Emily's finger. But you seemed so excited about the job, and You felt responsible, Emily sighed. Yeah, Leah croaked. Emily straightened and blew out a breath. Well, we're not moving. And from now on, we're going to tell each other how we really feel about things. Okay, Leah replied, sounding unsure. Emily frowned. I mean it, Leah. I need you to be honest with me from now on. Leah nodded vigorously now. I will be. Nudging at the nightstand, Emily said, Let's eat those pancakes before they get cold. She pursed her lips and looked at Leah again. Want to start apartment hunting online while we wait for our flight? Leah's smile took over her entire face. Yes, please. Okay. This was part 9 of More Than Fun and Games. That's right, part 9 out of 10. That means the next episode will be the very last one of this short, sweet... I'm going to keep that blooper in. That means the next episode will be the very last one of this short... Oh my God. Okay, that means the next episode will be the very last one of this... Here we go. Short sequel. See. I can do it. I'm still writing the last episode today, actually. And I can do all that writing thanks to the support of listeners around the world. Again, a big thank you to all of you who have sent a one-time gift a recurring contribution, or non-monetary support. Your generosity just warms my heart, encourages me, keeps me going. It's amazing. It's like a superpower. So thank you. Hey, before I go, I'd like to share more inspirational work with you by another Black feminist. Remember Audre Lorde last week? If you're looking for an uplifting and super empowering read, check out Bell Hooks's All About Love, New Visions. It's an old book, but it will change the way you look at yourself, your relationships, and the communities we live in. Really. It's such a special book. So yeah, I highly recommend Bell Hooks's All About Love, New Visions. Really, it's amazing. Okay, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you soon for the last part of More Than Fun and Games. Bye. My jaw hurts. It's from all the smiling. I smile too much.